We are fast approaching the time of year when savvy folks gear up for tax season 2024.
Ah, the infamous coulda, shoulda, woulda moment, a common pitfall for those who don't take tax and financial planning seriously.
What advice would you give listeners to keep them from having a coulda, shoulda, woulda moment?
Well, there's Brian. Hello, hello.
Hello, hello. How is everybody doing?
All right. Well, what did you do, Brian?
Well, this is my tax time of the year. I mean, I don't know about you, Dan, but I just got off the phone with a very lovely couple and said October 1st is really the start of our tax season. October, November, and December are the three most important months of doing any kind of sophisticated tax planning, because if you don't do it now, you can't do most of the tax savings come next April 15th when the IRS wants their check. And I think, Dan, you could talk a little bit about some of the tax approximations and maximization strategies that we do towards the end of this year, so people can save money on taxes and not shoulda, coulda, woulda, didn't, don't, whatever you're going to say.
We can't live a life with regret. We also want to keep our March Madness to the very famous, and as a former champion of the pool, the WMGNA March Madness pool, which
been a few years
is an Instagram famous order of that pool. Because if you're not being careful now, like Brian said, these next several months, you will become victim of the Ides of March, meaning you're going to end up with a surprise or an uncomfortable conversation or a mad scramble as you're gathering up everything. But seriously, we just updated a tax out plan for subscribers in Arizona yesterday, as a matter of fact, and we continue to generate over $10,000 of monthly income. And for 2023, we are approximating a combined federal and state of Arizona income tax of $1,841.
That's pretty good. That's pretty low.
That's over $120,000 of income and less than $2,000 in taxes.
Wow.
Yeah. So, how do we do it? We have done all of the planning during the year. We see where we are. We were able to realize some tax losses, and with technology and artificial intelligence, maintain their position in the asset class that we took the losses from. We are also dealing with someone who's taking Social Security. So we're making sure that the kind of income that hits the tax return, it's over $50,000 in Social Security, but only $22,000 hits their taxes. And the Medicare premiums are minimal. So the tax and financial planning, which to me are just financial planning, has led them into a great place.
And for the small business owners, and Dan was just talking about people that aren't working, this is your time of the year. You really need to dig your heels in. And if you have stock options too, because as we know, the tax laws really sunset in 2025. So this is one of your last 2 years, unless Congress can get its act together, which we can see they can't even pick a Speaker of the House. So do you think they're really going to have comprehensive tax reform in the next year and a half to avoid a calamity coming in 2025? This is probably, as you say, keep the madness going from March. And I will attest that Dan won once, 10 years ago, where I did the trifecta first, second, and third, a few years back, but we won't talk about that. But that's the same thing about, saving money on taxes. This is your March Madness right now. This is when October, November, December, you make March a very non-event. So you can join the WMGNA March Madness pool, have the time to do the right picking, because you're not really worried about, your income taxes next March.
It really comes down to a tremendous amount of time savings and stress reduction. We're all stressed out with everything that's going on. Another easy step to avoid that awful shoulda, coulda, woulda life of regret moment is right now, if you're working, it's open enrollment. And if you don't know about open enrollment, that says a lot about open enrollment. for you. This is where you can change your benefits. You have one time a year to do that during open enrollment, unless there's a special life-changing event. Won't get into that. But for most of us, this is the time where we can change our benefits. Same with people on Medicare. If the plan you had wasn't the right plan for your new prescription drug that came out, you can shop it around. It's all regulated. You can work with an insurance agent. You get the same thing as if you do it yourself. We often see folks, when they first come to us, $700-800 a year. Think of accidental death. Yeah, it's $8 a paycheck. That's $196 a year that you'll never see. Over 10 years, it's $2,000 just flying out the window. $6 a month to put life insurance on your 4-year-old. Again, a giant waste of money. This is your chance to make those choices. Also, executives, publicly traded companies who are able to do deferred compensation, not pay tax on your money now, like a super 401k deduction. Now, there are certain pitfalls of it. And again, review this with your tax and financial people, of course. You get to decide now for next year what you're going to have in deferred comp. And you also then are going to decide how those distributions are going to get paid out. Very important. And you can change those every year. We saw someone who came to us many years ago, pharmaceutical executive, great family, very bright and successful, was doing deferred comp, but took that. He would get paid out all of his deferred comp a year after separation of service, never changed, got a new job, and then got $250,000 all at once. So it really didn't execute what he was intending to do, because you know what? Deferred comp came. He was busy doing 1,000 other things, 2 little kids, 2 kids in college. Everyone understands that, and just said, you know what? Everything's fine. I'm not going to change it. So those are another coulda, shoulda, woulda on saving thousands of dollars in taxes and other expenses that most folks just simply don't have the time to go through.
In the fourth quarter, obviously take advantage of approximating the taxes so that there are no surprises come March. Pay attention to open enrollment, not just for your work, but also for Medicare. Is there anything else that your listeners should be thinking about to avoid a shoulda, coulda, woulda moment?
I think this year with the market volatility and everything, you may want to take advantage of some of the sales. You want to look at your portfolio. You may want to do some tax loss harvesting, or if last year was a rough year and you have some carry forward tax losses, you may want to sell some investments that are high. If you have some carry forward losses, then you're thus not paying any income taxes on it. But you definitely want to look at the portfolio and maybe do some rebalancing. And, obviously make sure you keep the tax man in mind, but don't let the tax dog wag that tail. So
that is great, Brian. You know what? We always know how much money we have, but we don't know how much time. And that's where one of the beauties of a subscription service is that not only are you saving thousands of dollars in taxes and other expenses, but you're saving time. You have the time to enjoy it. So contact us now to find out if our subscription services can save you time and thousands of dollars in taxes and other financial expenses that you may be overpaying.